OECD were quoted by the World Economic Forum in January in relation to the future scenarios for schooling and the notion of schooling extended, education outsourced, schools as learning hubs. And then the one that really caught my eye was learning as you go. Education takes place everywhere, anytime. Distinctions between formal and informal learning are no longer valid as society turns itself entirely to the power of the machine.
It's interesting that you asked that, because my first response is that there's nothing new in this. That is what the OECD and World Economic Forum has done. These same scenarios, they have been around already for 20 or 30 years. And so we have been kind of try to predict a long time, how the schools are going to evolve. But my view again, and this goes back to what we spoke earlier, is that this value of human relationships, and not only relationships between the teacher and the student in the school or university, but also these extremely important social bonds and connections between students and students.
Sure.
Is going to be it's going to be more valuable and important than we probably realize. And I think that some of these scenarios will need to be reconsidered after the pandemic. I think that many people, including many parents, realize that how important function school actually has, just by having these people there together every day and learning to live together. Not just learn there together, but learn to live together, be together, and understand differences. And that's why we can speculate about this. Learning happens everywhere, or learning will be disrupted, or there will be no schools, and of course we also know that people have always been learning all the time as you go. That there's nothing new in that.
It's not a new construct.
But I think that what's the kind of a challenge for formal education systems in the future is that how can we make sure that this line between formal education and informal education or non-formal education will be kind of a lower than before. But again, this is something that the European Union, for example, has been working on this for the last 30 years. This recognizing non-formal and informal education as part of this like a real learning.
We need to move away from the top-down edicts from government and listen to what local community has to say.
Absolutely, and for me, the most important stakeholders in this listening to the community are the young people, children themselves. They have been, until now, in most countries, young people have almost completely been excluded in this conversation.
Absolutely.
And just like if you look at the global movement for the climate change action, it's led by young people now. Many of these government things that now will be discussed later this year in Glasgow, Scotland. They would not be in the agendas of these global meetings without young people. And I think that if we were just listening more and engaging, including young people more into these conversations of what type of school do they really need, not just what they want, but what type of things they need.
Will there be a major gap between those who will thrive in the future and those who will be left behind?
Yeah, but this gap and the notion of more people left behind is primarily because we have and continue to have this kind of a standardized mindset for education, that we kind of assume that each and everyone will learn not only the same things but in the same ways. Yes. And then we are measuring these expected outcomes also in exactly the kind of a standardized way. Sure. And we continue to see these gaps, and this canyon is going to get wider if we continue to do that, because one thing that the technology is doing is helping young people at a very early age to choose their own pathway. There are many young people who kind of have their first job when they're 9. They're developing yes. things and doing things. And just think about putting somebody like that in this format of the traditional schooling, where basically the school says that it doesn't matter what you do at home or on your free time, the school where you have to do what everybody else is doing. And those people will not they will drop out or do some other things.
Really an appreciation of individual difference, and it's grasping the liberalization that technology offers away from the traditional methods you're talking about, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's the interesting thing is that there are some schools that have already done things like this. There maybe must be schools in Ireland. There are certainly schools here in Australia, many schools in Finland that are already designed in this way, that they kind of start by understanding these young people in a very different way. And that's the point. Unless we understand children differently, we are not able to change the schools in a ways that they should change. So everything starts with this kind of a notion that we need to understand children and their capabilities and capacity and potential in a different ways. Yeah, I think life should be a journey, and to navigate through a storm or disruption means that you need to have skills to learn, and that you must be able to seize the moment and time. My optimism in this situation, whether it's education or future of the world, almost entirely comes from young people. It doesn't come from the current governments or scientists or all of it. It's about their ability to find a way if we just let them do that. And school is the right place to start to do that more than we have done so far.